Today we have Cathy Liska of the Center of Coaching Certification. Thank you so much for joining us, Cathy.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. So I'm definitely curious because like we kind of discussed that you actually train coaches rather than sometimes it's like you're the coach itself. So how does that work? How does the whole business operation go for this company?
So we have what are called ICF approved programs. ICF is the International Coaching Federation, and they have standards for training programs. And specifically, we're developing the core competencies of a coach in people, teaching them the code of ethics, and truly supporting them in terms of how they're coaching.
And so what are maybe some gaps that you notice for coaches that they're missing that you might help them to fill?
I think the biggest thing for the profession as a whole is to really think about, okay, as we mature as a profession, we're going to have a choice. We either are going to self-regulate or governments are going to start regulating us. Currently, we're in that place of self-regulating, and the gold standard in that place is the International Coaching Federation. There are other organizations that also work in this space, and they all collaborate and talk. The International Coaching Federation is the largest. And very much what we find, because we also contract with organizations to provide coaches, they're asking us for people that are members of the ICF and or have earned a credential with the ICF. So I think the most important starting point is, as with any profession, are people really trained to do what they're doing? You wouldn't want to hire a therapist or an attorney or a financial planner if they didn't have any training. When people come to training, the biggest paradigm shift is that so many times the common misunderstanding around coaching is they think you're going to give somebody advice or tell them an answer.
Okay.
And in coaching, that's unethical. The role of the coach is to hold that person as whole, complete, and fully capable. They are their own best expert. And so the coaching process is all about drawing out the answers from within them. And they do have them.
Right. So not necessarily trying to give this magical answer or tools that's from, like you said, externally. It's really just kind of, like you said, bringing it from within and making people realize like you actually have all the answers and the tools. I'm just trying to make you see them for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. My job is just to give you the space and the questions so that you think about it and explore it. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, how many people want someone else telling them what to do and how to do it and how to run their life? Not very many.
I think it's a very empowering feeling when we do realize that, wow, a lot of things that I'm searching for and answers is within me. I just maybe need someone to push me and make me realize it.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, as far as your personal journey, how did you get into this as far as, like you said, training coaches rather than maybe if you were a coach yourself? What does that journey look like for you?
I was actually a trainer first.
Okay.
And in teaching programs all over the place, I had so many people come up to me and say, oh, will you coach me? Or, oh, you should be a coach. I had no clue what they were even talking about. So I had to go do my homework and research this. And as I got into it and read about it and learned about it, it's like, oh, I like that philosophy. That totally makes sense to me. So I jumped in, got trained, and actually started teaching classes with a different organization because of my background in training, and learned more. Learned about the ICF, learned how important it is as a profession that we're collaborative and work together and have a standard for all of us. And in doing that, learned, okay, it's really important that we have this code of ethics there, that we're teaching the competencies, et cetera. That organization didn't want to do that. And so I said, okay, well, then I'll do it. So I started the Center for Coaching Certification just over 10 years ago.
Wow. Well, congratulations for just 10-year anniversary not too long ago then.
Yeah, thanks.
So you mentioned as far as the code of ethics, regulations, kind of started maybe more the concrete things. What are maybe some of the things that you cover and teach coaches as far as maybe the personal aspects, how to build that relationship with clients and everything? What does that look like?
Well, and a lot of that's embedded in the competencies. So some of the things we talk about, first off, even that paradigm shift that I mentioned of really holding that person as whole and complete and fully capable. Another piece of it is truly understanding your client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? Because everybody is completely different in that regard. And it's what is their way of coming at it? What's their personal style? And then also being aware of their language patterns, their thought patterns, and how to adjust to them based on who they are.
And do you think clients ever, like people, the coaches will serve, can catch if when you're kind of giving something generic, like you said, you want to alter it to something that fits them? Do you think like as people, we can feel like, okay, you're giving me something generic from a textbook rather than actually working with me to find what fits me?
Oh, absolutely. Coaching is all about dancing in the moment. And so when you're training a coach, yes, we teach them questions. We teach them how to ask questions. We're building muscle memory. And then we say, okay, throw all of that out the window. And when you're with a client, be with the client.
Right.
Hold the space for them. The question comes out of the conversation naturally. It isn't something you can prepare for.
Right. And that's what I said. You have to be in it, be attentive, and like you said, a dance. I like it.
Yes. Actually, we talk about that, dancing in the moment.
That's so important. I think that's specifically the word dancing too, is kind of just makes me think specifically like that fluidity and that you're constantly adjusting everything. So I think that's a very important word usage that you picked.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm curious, kind of two parts, obviously being a conscious business leader, how do you hold yourself to be a conscious business leader? And how do you kind of maybe incorporate that when you teach other coaches to be one as well?
So I think there are a lot of elements to that. To me, a conscious business leader recognizes that it's really all about people. My personal mission statement for years has been people. Just that simple. I think it starts with the people on your team and the people you serve, who your clients are. And it's knowing these are intelligent people, they're capable people. It's building that trust with them.
Right.
So once you bring somebody on your team, really believing in them and supporting them and backing them up. As far as clients, it's very much this coaching philosophy and mindset of being open, being curious, being interested in them, and flexing to them because it's all about making it work for them.
Absolutely. And as far as being the open part you mentioned, as far as to get the clients to be open with you as a coach, what point do we have to be open as well to kind of show them like, see, I'm giving a little bit, so give to me. Is there any of that element in there? Or what is like kind of, I guess, the lines for that?
Yeah, well, and that's a pretty tough one. So one of the things we talked about is coaching. It's all about the client.
Right.
So if I use the coaching session to tell you about me, I'm taking away your time.
Right. Okay.
So it's definitely a balancing act, and it's a tough balancing act. When it's a coaching session, this is the client's time. Am I sharing my experiences? Not usually.
Got it. Okay.
At the same time, like you said, I've got to be open and vulnerable with them so they can be open and vulnerable with me. They've got to know we have that kind of relationship for that conversation to really be effective. Some of that comes in on the front end when they're interviewing you, getting to know you.
Right,
as far as during a session, on rare occasions, something will come up and it actually serves the client to say, hey, I've had that experience too.
Okay.
And if it serves them to know that I've been there, walked that mile, so to speak, then I'll simply say, yes, I've done that too, or experienced that too, and keep the focus on them.
And so for any of our listeners on here, to you, what is kind of the ideal candidate of someone who may want to work with you, or maybe a coach who's needing your services? What does that look like?
So it's really about caring about other people, wanting to make a difference, wanting to help other people be their best self and be successful, both professionally and personally. That's who is really going to be successful as a coach.
Okay. For some inspiration too, for our listeners, what would you say is a recent client success story? Maybe one that kind of pops into your head right away.
Actually, it's so much fun working with clients. and you got to know, it's just a privilege. We're so lucky. So I think of a client that I was working with that was figuring out, okay, all of the change that we've experienced in the world today, what's their place? How are they a role model? How are they making a difference and helping advance things they were interested in? And what's the approach and the process and what they came up with and the progression from the start of the relationship to the end of the relationship. Wow. Very, very cool.
And I'm sure, and I think it's fun too, like you say, it's like the intangible and the tangible results that you can get. It's kind of like a cool little mix where you have some emotional things, but they do lead to real tangible results as well in their lives.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So our listeners who are interested in trying to either work with you or just learn even more about the company, where should they go for that information?
So the website is www.coachcert.com. And when you're on the website, there's an infographic to explain what the journey is.
Okay.
There's also information. We do a free program every month talking about coaching certification, what to look for in a program wherever you go, what to notice, etc. So it's all there.
Wonderful. Well, Cathy, Liska, thank you so much for joining us at the Center for Coaching Certification. We really, really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.